All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the land use portion of our meeting today. Today's October 8th, 2025. And Corey, would you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Schroeder?
Here.
Commissioner Buck?
Here.
Commissioner McDaniel?
Here. Thank you. All right, first item on the agenda is the Paulette Property Economic Development Zones, EDZ S 2025-0001.
Mr. Chair, I move we open the public hearing for Paulette Property Economic Development Zone Site Development Plan, case number EDZ 2025-0001.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Right.
All right, Danny.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Danny Klebanner, and I'm a land use planner here with Elbert County. Today, I will be presenting the Paulette Economic Development Zone, and that is case EDZS 2025-0001. So the site is located at the corner of County Road 158 and Elbert Road. The parcel size is 4.35 acres. And the current zoning is residential agriculture 1 with the EDZ overlay. The request here is for a year-round market use with a single metal building. The applicants are Jason and Annette McFadden with Representative Mark Kiefer from Norris Design, and the property owner is CB Independence Holding Company, LLC. The parcel number for this project is 75222000001. Here's a look at our county. It's very hard to see the location of this. It's located at the far kind of western area here, just at the border with Douglas County and Elbert County. And here is a zoning map of the property. The surrounding zoning includes residential agriculture 1, residential agriculture, and PUD, and Douglas County zoning to the west. So you can see the property there represented with that star, and surrounding properties ranging from the undeveloped tract in Independence, that's about 260 acres, to a 5-acre parcel there to the east with the fire district. Again, so surrounding properties include a 10-acre residential to the south, a business to the west, that's a horse therapy and riding business in Douglas County, undeveloped property there to the north, an Independence tract that is unplatted and 260 acres, and used by the Fire Protection District, that's 5 acres and zoned residential agriculture 1 with a communications tower. Here's a closer look at the property. You can see the house and accessory building. The structure will be located kind of in that brown-gray area there on the western portion of the property. Here's a look south from County Road 158 at the property to orient everyone. And here is the site development plan. So you have the primary access coming from North Delbert Road. There's that metal structure, a 3,500 square foot building, parking lot there. And then that kind of pink block there on the bottom is emergency access, and that'll be also driveway to the residence because the other driveway will be closed and used only for emergency access. So the project summary for this is a market with a single metal building. There could be indoor and outdoor vending, 14 parking spaces. It's planned to be open year-round, and the applicants described it as being used by local vendors. Again, you have the 3,500 square foot building. Setbacks are, it's set back 100 feet from the front property line and about 115 feet from each side. One side is 114 feet and then the other side is 115. The nearest residence is about 940, almost 1,000 feet from the building. And there again will be that commercial access from Delbert Road. So the project timeline for this project began in December of last year with a pre-application meeting. No community meetings are required for economic development zone site development plans. The formal application was submitted and deemed complete June 12th. It went for 2 referral periods. The first was in June to July of this year, and then the second from August 26th to September 9th. Mailed notice was sent to all property owners within a quarter mile. Newspaper notification was posted, and a sign was posted on the property. All noticing complied with Elbert County zoning regulations of 14-day advance notice. So, public comment, no community meeting again is required. We did have 2 comments received at the end. One resident asked questions about possibilities that this site plan could change into a different use than was described. The second comment was from the previous owner of the property. The previous owner was concerned that her name was being used for the project. And I just want to stress, Paulette is not involved with this project. The applicant did pick the name for this project, and staff was able to reach out and speak with both people who had comments. So again, looking at the referral for this, the applicant did respond to all relevant comments. Main revisions included changes to the exhibit, acknowledging requirements from Elbert County Public Health, clarifying water use with the Division of Water Resources, addressing some core red lines, changes for Elizabeth Fire Protection District, and addressing Douglas County comments. The second referral period addressed all the outstanding comments from the first referral period. It was primarily a couple planning-related questions, and again, was from August 26th to September 9th. All right, so Article 3H4 from Elbert County zoning regulation lists criteria A through H for all EDZ development plan requests. The Board of County Commissioners is to consider these 6 criteria in their review, or 8 criteria in their review of the application. The 8 criteria are as follows: whether the use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood. This use will provide a retail opportunity near the Independence community, one of the largest subdivisions within Elbert County. The use will offer area residents a market with opportunities for area residents to buy and sell products in Elbert County. The market is intended for day use, and there was no lighting plan submitted with the site plan. B, whether the use will have an undue burden on available infrastructure subject to mitigation. This site development plan request has provided evidence of adequate access and will not require septic. The plan was for portable bathrooms and approved by Public Health. In addition, Elizabeth Fire Protection District and Corps approved the site development plan, which meets the fire district and utility requirements. All traffic comments have been addressed. Public Works have no additional comments. Elbert County Public Works, Elbert County Public Health, and Douglas County approve of the use and traffic letter. C, whether the use will not have an undue burden on available infrastructure subject to mitigation. The applicant provided a traffic letter, which again was reviewed by Elbert County and Douglas County. The access point to the development must be built to Elbert County Road and Bridge standards for a commercial access. D, whether the use will not cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. The impact on the community should be light with some noise associated with a small market and no air, odor, water, or light pollution. The market is intended for day use. E, whether all sanitation requirements will be met. All sanitation requirements will be met. The applicant does not need an on-site wastewater treatment system. Elbert County Public Health reviewed the application and has no objections. F, whether the use will be adequately landscape buffered and screened. The use will have landscaping around the marketplace building. The landscape plan includes an additional 5 trees along the Delbert Road frontage of the property that screen the metal structure from the road. Additional buffering for the market comes in form of distance from other structures. The nearest home that is not on the subject property is roughly 1,000 feet from the proposed market structure. And then finally, G and H, whether the use will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. Again, the impact on the community should not be detrimental. Staff believe the scale and scope of this site development plan fits within the context of the surrounding neighborhood. Elizabeth Fire Protection District and the Elbert County Office of Emergency Management were referral agencies and had no concerns. And then finally, H, whether supplemental standards are met for specific uses as applicable. This project meets the parking requirements and building setback requirements defined in Elbert County zoning regulations. There are no additional supplemental standards for this use. So a few considerations for decision today. The market size and scale in relation to the surrounding neighborhood is definitely something for consideration. Elbert County Public Works and Douglas County reviewing the traffic letter and plans for access with no objections. This is an opportunity for local retail that could support area vendors. And finally, all referral agency comments were resolved. So a few potential conditions for this application. The first is that the applicant will be required to remove the signs within 2 weeks of the conclusion of all notified meetings or decisions. Signs not removed within 2 weeks may be removed by Elbert County and subject to reasonable charges for removal. 2, the economic development zone site development plan will not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the site development plan exhibit is recorded. 3, recordation of all appropriate documents to occur within 180 days of a Board of County Commissioners decision. And 4, the applicant shall obtain building permits within 1 year of site development plan approval or request an extension from the CDS director. And that's from our zoning regulations for site development plans and approval. So that concludes my presentation for Paulette EDZ. The applicant is also here to share a short presentation, and I'll just pull that up real quick.
Good afternoon, sir. Okay, green light across the bottom.
Green light. There we go.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Kiefer, Norris Design. It's a pleasure to be in front of this commission again. Just wanted to go over a couple brief ideas here associated with this project and then turn it over to the applicant to let her describe the intent of this use particularly. Next slide, Danny. So just to introduce the team again. I think Mr. Kilbrenner kind of went over this already, but just to reiterate, the Annette McFadden and her family are here this afternoon to kind of give you an overview of the project. They're the business owner, proprietor of this activity. The property owner is CB Independence Craft Companies. Right across the street is Independence PUD. Civil engineer on this project's Core Engineering, and then myself with Norris Design. And I forgot to give the address at 1101 Bannock Street, Denver, Colorado, 80204. Next slide. So I just want to give you a quick overview in addition to what Mr. Kilbrenner had presented in terms of the project, its context, and where it's located. It is right on the border of Douglas County and Elbert County. The western portion of it is existing Delbert Road, where a new driveway will be built. As Mr. Kilbrenner had mentioned, working with Public Works, that's a joint effort between your Public Works Department and Douglas County in terms of that permit, and both jurisdictions are going to be reviewing that. On the County Road 158 side, one thing I wanted to emphasize too, there's an existing driveway that accesses the house that is on this property. Adjoining that, you can see in another driveway that they're parallel driveways on Hilltop Road. What we're proposing is closing the one driveway because of safety concerns primarily. I think maybe if the commissioners remember some of our previous conversations with Independence, that sight distance going into Delbert Road in that location. I'm sure all of you have been in that area. It does present a hazardous situation, so we're taking one of those driveways away. The other driveway that would exist is to serve the radio tower and an adjoining property owner, but as far as our project is concerned, we're moving it all towards Delbert Road right now with a new driveway. Coupled with that, there's a new address that's going to be assigned this property on Delbert Road. So the old address for that house then would be relocated on Delbert Road. Again, emphasizing the access, the front door, if you will, of this project being on Delbert, not County Road 158. The other thing I wanted to mention too is that, as Danny had mentioned, the site's zoned RA1. It has very limited uses, but it is within an EDZ overlay, which I think, in just my personal opinion, this is what the EDZ zone district was really meant for, these small parcels that do have an opportunity for economic development and supporting the local community. If anybody were to consider another use on this project, whether it's a convenience store or an office building or a kennel, they would have to go through a rezoning process and have to be before the Planning Commission and this board again before any change of use happens on this site. So what you're hearing this afternoon is only pertaining to this particular use, this particular applicant, and anything else that would be changed in the future would have to go through a separate process. Next slide, Danny. So again, you saw the site plan that Danny had pulled up, but I just wanted to also point out that we're now building, because we're closing the access on 158, we're building a new access drive from Delbert along the southern property line to the existing garages and house that is currently on the property. But the building itself certainly meets what we would consider commercial setbacks on Delbert Road and 158, as well as the adjoining property owner to the south. We also had to adopt or adapt to commercial standards in terms of parking too. Even though it's a residential zone district, we do apply commercial standards in terms of parking demand and access. So that's how this particular site plan was designed. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Annette McFadden. She's going to give you an overview of what the business is all about, what this program is really meant to be, and I think it'll be in the next slide, Danny.
Thank you.
I'm Annette McFadden. This is my family, my husband Jason, my son Travis, and we have 2 other children who are also involved in our business. We own Colorado Greenhouse Builders. We've been in Elbert County for about 22 years. And this has been something that I've worked on for several years. And the way this came about was through our greenhouse business. We have met numerous people with skills that have, whether it be honey or bread or all these amazing products that are right here local in our county. My goal behind this whole project was bring a place that these people can share their products, share their amazing things that they've grown. I also have a heart for health. I think the things we put in our body make an impact on everything. I think we feed ourselves with chemicals, and I am one that says, you know what, if we have the ability to control what goes in our body, we should do it. So I just kind of quickly want to go through this slide. You can go to the next slide. But these are some of the bullet points that I am trying to hit here with this marketplace. We have a lot of division in our county, and I would love to create a place that people can have a commonality, which to me is food, it's good things, it's a sense of community. That's what I'm trying to create. I also want to be able to share all these products with all of these people. And I want to give our vendors an opportunity to have a home. And this is not what I'm seeing on social media, because we are never going to be a 7-Eleven. I am nothing close to a 7-Eleven. And people are very confused about what we're doing. I am supported by the local vendors and the small businesses in this county. And I am doing them a service, they are doing me a service, and they are doing that neighborhood a service. I mean, I just don't understand how people could take this as a 7-Eleven. The sustainability portion of this project is just something that we need to think about. And, you know, all these people are concerned about the water and our resources. We have a project that is using very little resources in our county. That should be, you know, our goal here, you know? And then learning. We're going to have learning opportunities, whether it be a small class with some neighbor ladies that are saying, hey, let's learn about foraging. Maybe we can learn how to can. You know, let's learn about what herbs do to our body. We are going to have all of those opportunities there. You know, you can go to the next slide. But community, you know, our divisive community. I mean, gosh, I would love to create a wonderful place for people to gather and do good things for their mind and their body and their souls. Next slide. We're going to have a little neighborhood hub. This, you know, we're never going to have hundreds of vehicles like people are talking about. That is not our goal. We're creating a little hub. And I am telling you, this has been anticipated by so many small businesses in this county, so many vendors, so many growers, whether it be ladies from the Master Gardening Program that are going to be involved, or, you know, the little bee guy that's down the road. You know, this is good. To me, it's a no-brainer because we're not harming anybody. We're not bringing craziness. We're bringing good things. You can go to and like I said, we want to know where our food is. You know, we want to reduce the chemicals that we're being exposed to. And the fresh produce in Colorado, whether it's even from Elbert County, we have access to that. I have access to the organic potato farmer, you know, in Westcliff. I have all of these people that want to share their products, and we're just giving them a place to do it out of, you know. So, you know, that is, you can go to the next slide. But this is kind of just really what I'm trying to do here. You know, I'm just trying to bring some good things. I'm ever so grateful that we have a location that somebody is willing to let us, you know, build my dream here, what I'm trying to do. Because I have been working on this for years, and the price of property on 86 or anywhere else in this county would not allow me to create this project without assistance from Kraft. So those anti-Kraft people, you should really kind of be aware that they are offering a company like mine the ability to do this. And I'm very grateful, and I'm very grateful that we have the county that really, really does respect what we're trying to do here. And we have a lot of like-minded people that just want to come together and do some good things. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public input on this application?
Hello.
Hi.
Oops. I think I moved that. Thank you. Oh, my name is Maggie Witherby. My address is 44447 Homestead Road in Elizabeth. I wanted to say a couple of things to kind of follow up on what Annetta said. First thing you need to think about or to remember is local food and local food supply chains. And I say that because I talked to a gentleman at Safeway who was stocking apples, and I said, where does all this food come from? And he said, it comes from all over the world. A lot of countries in South America, all over the world. What if those supply chains got stopped for some reason? So local food and local supply chains. Actually, a lot of us, including Annette and some other folks here, Connie Miller, wave your hand, there we go. We've been involved with some of these projects for a while. You may remember, and Dallas certainly does, our Self-Reliance Expos, which we did in 2022, 23, and 24. with the support of the county, because they allowed us to have the facilities for free because we were not making any money. We were donating that money to the Victims Assistance Program. So I want to see, did anybody come to any of our expos? Please, raise your hand. Okay. Well, I want to say, first of all, that the olive branch is something that we could only have dreamt of when we started the expos. We could only dream that something permanent might come from that. So I want to say thank you to the McFadden family for doing this project and putting themselves out there to do this. It's, again, we need to remember that we need to support local farmers and local ranchers. There are things going on in this world right now, and I'll touch on that at the end of what I'm talking about here. But we've got a perfect location. There couldn't be any more perfect location. Not only will we draw from Elbert County, but we'll also draw from the eastern part of Douglas County. So that couldn't be any better. So we're very thankful to have this property and to move forward with a year-round project. And all of us that were involved in the Elbert County Self-Reliance Group are supporting this effort. The next thing I want to talk about is that when Annette talked about what's happening locally, one of the models that we've been looking at is Waves of Grain, and you've got a handout on that. It's a Waves of Grain is a farm-to-family food group in Boulder County. They were a vendor at our 2024 Expo. And basically, what they do, and I'm going to read here, they are a mid-tier food systems link connecting farms, food makers, and food hubs to retail markets from Denver to Fort Collins. They want to work with us in Elbert County. They're waiting for the olive branch to get going so they can work with us. They have perfected what they're doing up there with their start already in 2022. So Waves of Grain is one of the things that we're looking at in terms of a model to follow. We can gain expertise and knowledge from them and not make many of the same mistakes. They don't have a set store, but some of the concepts are those that we really are valuing here. One last thing here, and I'm going to read here from, you may be surprised to hear, or maybe not, that 1 out of every 3 farms right now have the potential for going out of business in certain parts of our country. It has a lot to do with tariffs and the situation there, which is very unpredictable and unreliable. So with these kinds of things going on in the greater outside world, outside of Elbert County, we need to be better prepared, and working at the local level is the best we can do. And we can achieve excellence, and we can achieve food security for our county and our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comments?
My name is Connie Miller, 30600 Hidden Valley Place in Kiowa. I didn't intend on speaking today. I wrote a letter in support of Annette and her family, but I just felt like I had to get the point across on how successful the expo was that we did. We started planning like maybe a year ahead of time, and probably 6-10 of us that got together, we said, this is our dream. This is what we want to do. So we did it, advertised, did flyers, tons of meetings. The turnout was unbelievable. We were in shock. When we looked around, it's like, this place is packed. And it was packed all day long. And people were saying how great it was. And we had worm farmers there. We had people selling eggs, composters. Annette and Jason had their business there. We had people selling honey. We had demonstrations on how to grow things, how to raise chickens, how to butcher. We had meat producers there. We had pretty much everything. It was such a success that people asked, "Are you going to do it again?" We said, "We have to. It's too good of a thing to stop." So we did it the next year. It grew. It got bigger. And then eventually we ended up in 2 buildings at the fairgrounds because it was such a success. Well, Maggie was heading all that up, and she said, "I'm running out of steam." And none of us wanted to take up the helm for it, but Annette did. So when she came up with this idea, we thought, you can take it, and we will be 100% behind you to help, because it was fun, it was needed, people learned from it. It was such a blessing, not only for us, but the people that came and went there. So to have her and her family step up to do this, I'm 100% behind it, and I will support her in whatever she does. So hopefully Elbert County will too. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? So they're asking for any other public comments? Yes.
Thank you, commissioners, neighbors. Donna Honecker, 38800 County Road 1, also known as North Delbert Road, also known as Daly Circle. I've made sure the fire department knows how to find us. I have lived there. My family we lived just south of the property in question. And our family moved from Indianapolis in 2006. We are renters. Our landlords, David and Ann Oster, own 20 acres south of this property. They are the best landlords in the world. I've been there almost 20 years. We moved here and love the wide open sky. The mountains, I look out every day to the Front Range from my window. And we just love the wide open spaces. And my landlords have battled throughout the years with the Bandera, I think it was called, development. Then the independents came in, and they and their neighbors, the water rights are an issue, definitely. But also development is an issue, because many people move out to the country to live in the country. So what I would like to ask, if I'm able to, Mr. Kilbanner mentioned the Paulette property. Why did you not call it the Olive Tree Marketplace to begin with? We first noticed the sign on September 17th. My landlady was out of town. She received her letter when she returned at the end of September. And why is it called Paulette? Can anyone answer? Why was it not called Olive Branch Marketplace?
Yeah,
Okay.
You got it. Sorry.
So what's up with the name Paulette? That's a question. I'm somewhat speaking for my landlady as well as myself. So that would be a question. I met Travis almost a year ago to the day because he boldly had a sign in his yard. It was election season, and I loved his sign, and I wanted to meet this bold family who was moving in next to us, and just loved him. And he mentioned this idea for the marketplace or some kind of co-op. Now, my thinking at the time was there's a place in Douglas County on Castlewood Canyon Road. It's called 3D Farms, I think. And it's kind of a phone order or online ordering system where people order. It's a co-op, and you can go and pick up things. It's not an actual store, I don't believe. So that's kind of what I was thinking was happening, but it was kind of up in the air until September 17th when we saw the sign, and then my landlady received the letter. So, and I've talked with them since then, and I do love the idea. However, my landlady has 2 equines and 2 bovine livestock animals. We love the open space. I would say, as I was driving through Elizabeth today, there are 2 vacant buildings there, Jill's Feed Store, Holly Acres Gardens. It might be better to build up business in Elizabeth and, rather than in the corner there of Elbert and Douglas County. And as for the driveway situation, I think that a caution light might be very helpful. I have to pull out onto 158 numerous times a day, and since Independence has been built, I take my life in my hands because you cannot see over the rise. And I know I've been friends with the people that live in those 2 properties. So I know getting out of their driveways is a disaster. So maybe a caution light. Again, I would request that we look into maybe developing businesses in Elbert County, Elizabeth, the town, and maybe doing some kind of phone or online service for the co-op if the freestanding buildings in Elizabeth are not available. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, the next portion of this is going to be for the Board of Commissioners, questions and discussion. So, Ms. McFadden, you might want to come back up to the podium, or whoever would like to, so we can ask you some questions, if you don't mind. Commissioner Schroeder?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chair, I appreciate the presentation. Like the concept, I have a couple questions as far as how I assume this will be run as a year-round business?
That's on. Yeah, first of all, this is Jim Yates for the applicant. That is correct.
Okay. And so there's sources for the produce and the different things that would be offered in this location to be available year-round?
It would be, I think a lot of it's going to be seasonal, and then there are certain products like honey that could be
all
more
the
year-round.
time. Yeah. No, I like the concept. Is it just going to be food products, or will there be other options, really, other products?
Yeah, we have a lady that makes soap out of oatmeal or whatever. She does some things like that. So there'll be other products.
Other things there? Oh, that's terrific. In the event that we decide to move forward with this, and looking at the conditions of approval, number 3 talks about obtaining building permits within 1 year or requesting an extension from CDS director. Do you feel that that would be an adequate amount of time to get the building permit? It's in now, okay. So you would be agreeable to these 4 conditions of approval?
Correct.
That's all the questions I have.
I've just got one question. You don't anticipate like this huge traffic problem down there, do you?
People never.
No. Understood. It's the only question I have. Commissioner Buck?
You never know.
We hope
It'd be a good problem. I would just like to say I like the name. I think it is an excellent use of the EDZ zone. It is something that I'm encouraged to see a local business owner partnering with one of the local developers here. I think that's very commendable to have a dream and then build and work and strive to achieve that dream. So congratulations on that. Very excited to see that. I think the scope, was mentioned in the scale of the building. I think that's fine. A 3,000 square foot metal building, and I think scale was mentioned, but I think the scale should be appropriate. My only concern or question is buffering. And Danny, on page 100 of our packet, it mentions there is no implementation implementation plan for the large trees. No screening exists for the parking lot or southern property boundary. This may be okay based on distance. And then the response from the applicant was, we believe the distance between the proposed use and the nearest neighbor is sufficient and should not require additional landscape or visual buffering. So my concern is, you get a 3,000 square foot building there, all of a sudden it looks stark. You got a parking lot there with cars, looks stark, just kind of sitting out there. So I'd like a better explanation, if you could, of the buffering requirements that are in place.
So the buffering requirements for EDZ are fairly minimal, so it's a lot of kind of up to our interpretation. But the definition from our EDZ appropriate buffering has a definition, and that's just the act of minimizing one parcel's impacts from that of another parcel in the same vicinity. Appropriate buffering may come in the form of distance, vegetation, natural topography, walls, or other site design features. So their contention was that the distance was appropriate buffering for those southern two properties, and then they did speak about how they would water the plants to get them established because they're not using well water, so they just be establishing them, you know, through whatever means to. And I think potentially they could use their own water to water the trees because it's, you know, part of their property anyway. So yeah, that's.
So my concern is in the future, the distance isn't going to be there. There's always, hey, my neighbor's 20 miles away. Then the next thing you know, your neighbor's a mile away. Then the next thing you know, he's right up against your fence line. So that distance isn't a reliable parameter, I don't think, for a buffering scenario. So what I'd like to hear is, what's the buffering proposed currently?
So the buffering proposed currently is the vegetation and trees in the front along Delbert Road that screens the building kind of from Delbert Road, and then the buffering is the distance of, you know, about, it's like 940 to each resident. There's one that's to the northeast, and then one that's like directly south, or sorry, I guess it'd be southeast, and then one directly to the south, and it's, you know, about, you know, over 3 football fields, so they thought that's, you know, that's sufficient buffering for this type of use.
Because I can see farther than 3 football fields. But how about on 158? What's along 158?
On 158, there's, the frontage is much smaller. There's 2 trees planned like at the corner of the building, and then otherwise it's just, you know, the marketplace kind of on the corner there, and there's no other proposed screening there. There's obviously a lot of buffering because there's no residences, you know, anywhere within that vicinity. You can't, I don't know if you could see other residences from there because of the undeveloped nature of that in that corner.
Do you have the schematic of the?
I don't have a schematic of that, but I could pull up the aerial that shows it's basically 260 acres that's undeveloped currently across the street in Independence. That's what's on that 158 side.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Schroeder, any other questions?
I have none.
All right. Thank you.
Did you want response to the question from
If you'd like to give it, please.
Ken? So I'll do my best to remember them. The name Paulette is typically when we don't have a use or a purpose at the time we bring the application in, we just keep the name of who we bought it from. And that's, you'll hear that in a number of different applications. So that's the only reason. That is not to indicate that they are a part of this or positive or negative about it. The question about the light at the intersection, that is a county engineering. There are certain warrants and triggers that meet those kinds of things. And currently our traffic, we did do a traffic plan or traffic analysis, and that did not trigger that. But obviously if that is warranted in the future, that would be put there. And then again, I think you've talked about the buffering. we would like to have some visibility from 158 into the marketplace. It is a fairly small facility, and the topography rises up quite a bit as you go to the south. So not only is there kind of horizontal buffering, but there's also kind of vertical buffering of that a little bit.
All right, thank you. All right. Next item here is the Board of Commissioners' decision. So is there a motion on the table?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the Paulette Economic Development Zone Site Development Plan, case EDZS-2025-0001, with the 4 conditions of approval as presented.
There is a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Wish you best success. Thank you. All right, motion to close this land use hearing on EDZ S2025-0001.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we close this hearing, EDZ S2025-001.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. Next on the agenda is the Green Hills Rezone RZ 2024-6905. Is there a motion to open this land use hearing?
Mr. Chair, if I could, I'd like to make a statement prior
Yes, sir.
to this opening. If I could have
Give one-
applicant,
Just 1 second, if you don't mind. Let's so we can hear you. I don't know if the background noise will mess you up or not. Okay, sir.
okay, in the interest of transparency, I have a question for the applicant or the owner. While I do not live within the quarter-mile radius, I am relatively close to this property. Just wanted to make that declaration. I believe I can make a fair judgment and assessment of this one, but if the applicant or the applicant owner would wish me to recuse myself from this, I will do so, but wanted to make that out there before we opened.
Okay. All right, so is there a motion to open the land hearing for Green Hills Rezone, RZ 2024-6905?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we open the hearing for Green Hills Rezone, RZ 2024-6905.
Second.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right.
All right, thank you. Again, my name is Danny Klebanner, and this will be a presentation for Green Hills Rezone, and that is case RZ 2024-6905. Here's a project summary. The site is located at the northeast corner of County Roads 27 and 128. The site size is 42 acres. The current zoning is A, agriculture. This is being brought forward by applicant representative CJ Kirst, and the request is a rezone from agriculture to agriculture residential. The parcel number is 84271000001. The owner is Mo Roddy with Landview Investments, and this is a request to rezone to agriculture residential, which allows for 10-acre minimum lot sizes. And the intent of agriculture residential is to permit a mix of commercial farming, ranching, agriculture-related uses, and low-density residential subdivisions. Again, here's a look at most of our county, and it's a little difficult to see, but here's the property right in here. The site is about 4 miles southwest of Kiowa and about 3.5 miles southeast of Elizabeth. Here's a look at the zoning map for the property. It's represented with that little yellow star in there. To the north are the nearest agriculture residential lots. Those are 10-acre lots in the Apache Hills subdivision. To the west are approximately 5-acre lots in the Arrowhead subdivision, which is zoned residential agriculture 1. To the south is an 80-acre lot zoned agriculture with no structures. And to the east is a 38-acre parcel zoned agriculture with a residence and several outbuildings. Pine Crest is the other subdivision you see in there, and that is residential agriculture 1 zoned subdivision there to the northeast. Here's an aerial view of the property. County Road 27 runs adjacent to the north-south, and County Road 128 runs east-west. You can see a couple of subdivisions that were platted back in the 70s, including Arrowhead to the west and Pine Crest Estates, another RA1 subdivision that's up there to the northeast. Here's another aerial for the property. Currently, there's no wells, driveways, or structures. You can see a small rock outcropping, otherwise pretty innocuous ranch lands here. And finally, one more view of the property that you can see the little rock outcropping there, and otherwise no development. So some background in existing conditions. This is, again, ranch land with no structures. It's about 3.5 miles southeast of Elizabeth, directly east of Arrowhead. There's small seasonal wetlands and no floodplain on the property, and it'd be accessed via County Road 27 and County Road 128. This project began back in June of 2024 with a pre-application meeting. There was a community meeting in October of last year, October 2nd. It had a couple of different referrals, the first being back in December of last year, and then an additional one in August of this year. We had Planning Commission for this September 16th, and here we are today for the Board of County Commissioners. They did meet all notice requirements per Elbert County zoning regulations with a sign posting, quarter-mile radius mailing, and posting in Ranchland News. So the main delay in this is a slide describing all the referral agencies for this, was an approved determination of water right that the applicant wanted to wait for which concerns mainly the minor plat, but it's good to have that for zoning also. So they were seeking approval from the Division of Water Resources, and once they received that approval for a determination of a water right and replacement plan, they then resubmitted for a final referral to the Division of Water Resources. So back in October of last year with the community meeting, there were approximately 19 residents there. During that meeting, residents voiced concerns about road conditions in the area, water supply and quality, other projects in the area, and potential for rising property taxes. Since that community meeting phase, no other comments have been received. During that Planning Commission meeting, the vote was 5-1 in favor of recommending approval. A condition was to provide a couple of updates to the exhibit. There was an incorrect township listed under the legal description for the exhibit, and then there was a lot of discussion about packet documents and a couple of exhibit inaccuracies which were corrected by the applicant. So for review criteria, Elbert County Zoning Regulations Article 3C4 lists these criteria for your decision. The first is whether the proposed rezoning conforms to and is generally consistent with the goals and policies of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. Given the stated goals of the Comprehensive Plan outlined, it should be found that the rezoning is consistent with the Comprehensive Plan. The proposed rezoning may support the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan goal of residential development that is supported by existing roads and infrastructure. This development would be accessed by the 2 county roads that are adjacent to the parcel. Further, it may support the residential goal of diverse lot sizes. Within the immediate vicinity of this rezoning application are lots zoned A, ranging from 38 to 80, to lots zoned RA1 that are 5 acres. B, whether the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding land uses. Surrounding properties are zoned agriculture, agriculture residential, which is the same zoning, and residential agriculture 1. The lots directly north of the subject property fall, again, within the same zoning classification. The proposed rezone would allow for 10-acre minimum lot sizes, which are identical to some of the adjacent lots. C, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the provision of public services. The proposed rezone would likely not adversely impact public services. Public Works, Public Health, and the Division of Water Resources reviewed this application and had no objections to the proposed rezoning. Permitting for on-site wastewater treatment systems, which require approval from Elbert County Public Health, will be administered on a lot-by-lot basis. D, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the environment. The Kiowa Conservation District had no objections to this proposed rezoning. With no evidence of any concerns shared, the proposed rezoning likely would not adversely impact the environment. E, whether the proposed rezoning would create unreasonable traffic congestion or burden the existing road system without improvements. Elbert County Public Works was a referral agency for this project and had no objections to the rezoning of the property. The proposed rezone likely would not create any unreasonable traffic or burden the existing road system. And finally, F, whether the proposed rezoning would not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. And here, with no comments in opposition to the proposal from Elbert County Office of Emergency Management, Sheriff's Office, or the Elbert County Fire Protection District, and no evidence of any concerns from referral agencies, it could be found that this application will not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. So a few considerations for your decision here. The surrounding zoning, it has a variety from agriculture to residential agriculture 1. Agriculture residential zone compatibility with larger agricultural and smaller residential lots. You have lots ranging between 5 and 80 acres in the immediate vicinity. And then the final, all referral agency comments have been addressed. So moving into some potential conditions of approval. Again, the applicant shall remove signs within 2 weeks of the conclusion, and if not, they would be subject to a reasonable charge for removal. The rezone shall not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the rezone exhibit is recorded. And 3, recordation of all appropriate documents to occur within 180 days of Board of County Commissioner approval. So that is my presentation here for Green Hills rezone. Thank you. And the applicant is here to share additional details about the project and answer questions. I'm also available to answer questions. Thank you.
All right, is the applicant here?
Sir, can you hit the mic, the green button right in front? Thank you, sir.
Do I need to repeat any of that?
There you go.
Okay.
You need to repeat any of that? Can you just real quick, if you don't mind?
All right. CJ Kirst, Tahoe Consulting, 9457 South University Boulevard, Unit 101, Highlands Ranch, Colorado, 80126. As I was saying, there's really not much more to add here. We believe that this meets the criteria for being harmonious and compatible with the surrounding area. There really is very little impact to the surrounding area when it comes to public services. I will add one thing. We are, when we do plat the property, we will be dedicating an additional right-of-way for the 2 roads that the project abuts. Other than that, happy to answer any questions.
Don't have any at this time. We may call you back up, though. Thank you, sir. At this time, we'll open up for public input. Are there any public comments on this? Going once? All right, seeing none. Move on to the BOCC questions and discussion. Commissioner Schroeder, do you have any questions, sir?
Yeah, Mr. Curtis, if you could expound a little bit on the right-of-way you just talked about, easements for future roads?
So I can expand on this
Okay.
also. So Bart Greer, our previous attorney, there was a discussion because basically with agriculture, your property boundary goes to the center line of the road. And there's a discussion, well, should that be an easement? Because these roads are already maintained by the county and they're already county roads that are maintained. So the discussion was, should it be an easement or should they actually be dedicating the land to the county? And at that time, we've done it both ways. With a lot of projects, we allow it to remain an easement. He said his direction was that they should be dedicated to the county, the land under the roads as well. So that's why there's the additional 2 acres here, because there's 4 10-acre lots and then about 2 acres of right-of-way that will actually be dedicated to the county that is already maintained by the county.
Okay, I understand that. I have no further questions.
All right, Commissioner Buck.
Just one quick question for staff. One of the assessor's concerns was in regards to plating, and you said you made some corrections at the beginning from the Planning Commission to our meeting, and I assume that was one of those corrections?
Yeah, so there, it wasn't the assessor's comment. The assessor did not review the township and range, and we missed that, so there was an incorrect, under the title block, it said, I believe, Township 8, when it should have been Township 6 South, and so that was corrected. And the name of the owner's business changed, and so that was reflected also. Those were the main changes.
I'll just read it real quick. It's real quick. The plat indicates that Tract A is dedicated on the plat. There is no dedication. If Tract A is dedicated to the county, then this must be indicated in the dedication statement on the plat.
Yeah, so that
I just want to make sure that was...
That was done during the referral stage.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
That's all I had.
yeah.
All right, any other questions, sir?
I do not.
Nothing else?
No, sir.
All right, we'll move on to the BOCC decision. Is there a motion on the table?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve Green Hills rezone RZ 2024-6905.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, thank you. I need a motion to close Green Hills rezone RZ 2024-6905.
Mr. Commissioner, I make a motion that we close the public hearing on Green Hills rezone RZ 2024-6905.
Second.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is closed. It's been requested to have a 5-minute recess for bathroom break before we get into this next one, so we're going to recess for about 5 minutes. Thank you. We'll call this meeting back to order. All right, next item on the agenda is the Coyote Ridge PUD 2024-0258. Is there a motion to open this land hearing?
Mr. Chair, I move we open a public hearing on Coyote Ridge PUD, case number PUD 2024-0258.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's
Second.
a motion and a second. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Turn this over to you, Jennifer.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Commissioners. The next land use item before you this afternoon is a request for approval of a new planned unit development called the Coyote Ridge PUD. Quick summary, this is roughly at the northeast corner of County Road 13 and County Road 178. The site is about 112 acres in total, and it's currently zoned ag. And just reminders for everyone here today that the request for PUD zoning sets the allowable land uses and development standards, but it doesn't create lots or roads, so that would come with plating. It also doesn't allow for immediate construction, so this is zoning, PUD zoning specifically for this property, and that if this were to be approved, there would be additional processes required, including preliminary and final plats, construction plans, subdivision improvement agreements, et cetera. Okay, so there's our whole big county, over 1,800 square miles. This property is located up in the northwest corner, about 3 miles from the Douglas County line and about 3-ish miles from the Arapahoe County line. So zooming in, it is that rectangle highlighted in teal. It is north of a portion of the Spring Valley PUD. And you can see there are a variety of different zoning districts in this area. Purple is other planned unit developments, and then there are a variety of residential zoning districts as well as ag in this area. Zooming in even closer, so again, as mentioned, this property is at the corner of 178 and 13. It has been divided into its own 112-ish acre parcel. There was some complications and confusion back at the earlier public hearings because there was a larger area that was under the same ownership, and so while the descriptions were there, it had not been parceled off, and it has been completed at this time that it's its own parcel. There are 4 parcels to the north of this, as you can see on this diagram, that are under the same ownership. They are not a part of this application, and it is staff's understanding that they are not anticipated to be further developed in the future, so that the applicants are planning to keep that as a buffer to the north. As mentioned, to the south is a portion of the Spring Valley Ranch PUD. There are some large parcels there on the north side, and you can see it's approximately a half mile to already constructed residential in Spring Valley. They're off of Kingston Crest Trail, and I do have a couple photos. You can see that from this site. So just to provide some context. This is a photo of the site as it currently exists. It's undeveloped. Looking south, you can see the rooftops in Spring Valley Ranch. And I do just want to highlight, this is a photo inside of that closest Spring Valley Ranch neighborhood, which would be somewhat comparable in terms of final development. Okay, so the actual proposal. This is proposed for about 237 residential dwelling units. The PUD is divided into 6 planning areas. 4 of those are residential planning areas, as well as a park and the perimeter road, and then there's also open space, about 48 acres of open space. And the residential that's proposed would include both single-family detached and single-family attached, which is better known as a duplex product. This bubble map is essentially included as part of the PUD exhibit. This is a little bit better colorful version for the purposes of this presentation. So as mentioned, there are 4 planning areas, PA 1, 2, 3, and 4, which would include the residential products. And you can see on the screen those different types of products and how many units would be allowed in those general areas. There's also a perimeter road on the north side of the site, open space on both the east and west edges or ends of the property, and then about a 4-acre park site included as well. The PUD exhibit itself, I've outlined the sheets that are included, including that graphic that we just went over, as well as the development guide. I do have all of those we can go over if you all would like, is also included in your packet. The development guide sets the standards for the PUD, essentially what is the maximum height, what is the minimum lot size, what are the setbacks, all of those types of information is included. It also includes the internal roadway standards, architectural requirements, and any required design elements. So those are all of the specifics that are included that apply only to this proposed PUD. Infrastructure, the development guide also talks about the roadways, which are proposed to be Elbert County Standard Type 3, which does include sidewalks. They would be built to county standards, but they would be privately maintained, so the county would not maintain those internal roads. A traffic study was provided as part of this application and reviewed by Elbert County staff or their designees. At time of zoning, we do have a traffic study for some basic analysis. However, more detailed engineering would come at time of plating. So whenever a preliminary and then final plat would be before you is when you would see the more specific engineering for roadways and off-site improvements. And then a subdivision improvement agreement would be included with a final plat in the future if that were to happen. Additional infrastructure. So the water and wastewater that's proposed for the Coyote Ridge PUD would be provided by the Spring Valley Metro District. They're located directly to the south, so they would incorporate into that district, and that is where these services would be provided through. A little bit about the timeline. This original pre-app meeting was back in February of 2024. They had a meeting in the spring and then came before you with a concept brief in June of 2024. They did submit their final application in October of 2024. And then that project, it did go through 4 review cycles. These PUDs have a lot of details, and it did go back and forth for quite a while, with that last cycle ending in May. So this project went before your Planning Commission. It's been there twice. It went first on July 1st, and there was a hearing, which I will provide more details about, and then it was continued to August 19th, and the hearing was concluded at that time. So as part of the project review or the referrals, all of the agencies listed here did review this application and provide comments. I do have some details on specific comments and agencies that were discussed at the Planning Commission, including Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and I've included their comment here, and this was discussed pretty extensively, so I did want to include that. And I know that the applicants will address this as well. It was noted that subsequent development should plan to designate the open space areas to be continuous with the open space that's designated in this particular project. This project would be served by the Douglas County School District, and they did provide comments as well. They are asking for a cash in lieu of land dedication. They have requested that the county consider having a condition of approval, if this PUD is approved, to memorialize essentially that cash in lieu requirement that would be a requirement for a final plat as well, and that would be paid at that time. So there was a lot of talk at the Planning Commission and the community meetings and through public comment about potential traffic, which is always a concern with new development. And so I did want to note that our Elbert County Public Works and Engineering staff, as well as their outside reviewers, did review the proposal as well as the traffic study. And again, at this time, they did indicate that that was appropriate to move forward, understanding that further detail with access points, off-site improvements, lane alignments, and things like that would be provided at time of platting. And a comment by the Sheriff's Office was discussed at the Planning Commission as well, and they made the comments as shown about traffic and improvements and potential additional staffing at build-out. Again, we are only at the zoning stage today, so details on improvements and payments for that would all be worked out through the subdivision improvement agreement with final plat. And build-out would be also subject to platting, so it would be impossible to know today exactly what that time frame would be, but we would certainly have more details as plats came forward. So this BOCC hearing was noticed per the requirements of the zoning regulations. It was noted previously back in the summer when that Planning Commission hearing was continued that the public notice signs were taken down before the originally scheduled BOCC hearing. So this hearing was completely renoticed to ensure adequacy. A little bit about public comments. There was a public comment included in your packet. Since the packet was published, an additional public comment has came in. I passed that out to you in paper form just before this hearing started. And so I'll just note that that was an email that was received on Tuesday, October 7th for the record. And it is written by the same resident who had included a previous written comment in your packet. A little bit about the comprehensive plan. One of the review criteria related to a planned unit development is consistency or with the comp plan. And so there were a number of specific goals and policies identified in the comp plan that seem to be relevant to today's application, including goals about residential development, about the environment, and then some other related policies. Speaking of the review criteria, I have provided those on the screen for you. They are in a summarized format, so please note this is not the exact language that's included in Article 7, letter F, but in a summarized format, those review criteria are: number 1, consistency with the comp plan; number 2, compatibility with surrounding land uses; 3 and 4 is a review of whether the proposed application would adversely impact either public services or the environment. Number 5, would the proposal create an unreasonable traffic congestion or burden on the road system without improvements? And number 6, would it be otherwise detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the county? A few considerations that were outlined in the staff report. There are a variety of zoning districts in the general vicinity of this proposed project. Let's see. There are land uses, the land uses and standards that are outlined in this proposal are only applicable to the property within this PUD boundary. So these standards would not apply to any other property outside. And as we have discussed already, that final engineering would come at time of platting. There's extensive engineering required, and that would begin with the preliminary plat process. The preliminary and final plat are still required. Again, this is just the zoning. It does propose private roads to be built to county standards but maintained privately. And the gross density for the PUD overall would be 2.1 dwelling units per acre. Okay, the Planning Commission hearing. The initial hearing was on July 1st. There was one public comment at that hearing. The Planning Commission discussed with the applicant and with staff about a variety of topics, including traffic, the parcel separation process that I mentioned, the development specifics about builders and all sorts of future development questions. There was also discussion about water and how that would be provided, and discussion about packet materials, among others. That hearing was continued and concluded on August 19th. The applicant did provide the Planning Commission a response to those questions that had been brought up during the initial hearing. There was an additional written comment added to the record at that hearing, and the Planning Commission did have some additional discussion with the applicants at that time. The Planning Commission has made a recommendation to the BOCC for denial of the Coyote Ridge PUD. The Planning Commission recommendation was based on the criteria found in Article 7, numbers 1, 4, and 6. The vote for that recommendation was 6-2. And as a reminder of those particular approval criteria that were noted, again, in a summarized format, they are these three: consistency with the comp plan, impact to the environment, and whether it would be otherwise detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare. So with that recommendation, the Board of County Commissioners, you all can decide that the review criteria are or are not adequately satisfied, and either deny the application, or should you all decide to approve the application with conditions, there are potential conditions included in the staff report, should those be needed. The applicants are also here to address the board and answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. All right, the applicant is here. Yes, ma'am. You may have to turn that mic on. Make sure it's got the green light on.
I think we're good.
Okay, you may have to adjust it. It's a little tricky.
Good afternoon, County Commissioners. Thank you for your time this afternoon. We very much appreciate your time, the time we've spent with staff, and the community input that we've received to date. My name is Julie Gamick, and I'm with THK Associates. We're the planner on the project, and we are located at 5675 DTC Boulevard, Suite 200, Greenwood Village, 80111. Just a brief introduction. The property owners, Dave Quattrochi and Bill Hart, are here with me today, as well as Chris McGranahan, our traffic engineer. And I'm going to quickly turn it over to our owners so that they have the opportunity to tell you a little bit about their story on this property.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hi.
David Quattrochi, 3855 Mountain View Meadow Circle, Parker, Colorado, 80138. I'm one of two principals in the Coyote Ridge PUD rezone before you. A little bit of background. I've been a full-time resident of Elbert County for the past 25 years. I've been with the local fire department for the past going on 20 years, firefighter, paramedic. We're here today requesting your approval of our property from agriculture status to a PUD designation. We've owned this property for approximately 23 years. I believe we acquired it in 2002. We would like to request your approval for the property. Our objective here was to create a thoughtfully planned development that aligns with the county's comprehensive plan, supports responsible growth, and complements the surrounding communities. We've done a lot of work towards that goal. We believe the project will positively, will contribute positively to Elbert County long-term business plan, expanding local tax base, creating opportunities for housing and for employment within occupying a relatively small footprint, roughly 112 acres. I would respectfully request that you would favorably approve our project so we can continue with beneficial development. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there any public input on this application?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you not finished?
No, we're
Go
not.
back.
Sorry, we
Okay,
have more to
sorry,
go
go
on
ahead.
presentation. My apologies for that. So as Dave mentioned, the community vision for the Coyote Ridge PUD is to provide additional housing opportunities for the community, supporting the current growth pattern in the west and northwest part of the county. The PUD will provide a mix of lot sizes and housing options. The design guidelines, as Jennifer mentioned, will be specific to the site. Approximately 43% of the site will be parks and open space, which exceeds the county's requirements. and the floodplains and wildlife corridors are being preserved. The rezoning, as mentioned, is agricultural, moving to a PUD zoning. This will allow for a variety of lot sizing, including 70 by 110 foot lots, 60 by 110 foot lots, 50 by 110 foot lots, and duplex units. The design guidelines will provide permitted use, direction on permitted uses, setbacks. We have no build areas, footprints, landscape, parks, etc., specific to our site. I'm now going to turn it over to Chris McGranahan with LSC Traffic to speak to you about traffic briefly.
Hello, thank you, Julie. My name is Chris McGranahan. I'm a traffic engineer with LSC Transportation Consultants. We're at 1889 York Street, Denver, Colorado, 80206. We started this project by coordinating with staff and your consultant, Kimberly Horn, on the required scope of work for this traffic study, because this project was proposed after there'd already been a couple relatively large similar projects in the area, and so we wanted to make sure we had everything incorporated into this study. So this study includes several other projects as background traffic. We went back and forth with the county and Kimberly Horn a couple of times. There weren't too many comments, but they did have some comments that we addressed. At this time, there's no more feedback or comments from the county, as Julie suggested and staff suggested earlier, that as if the project does move forward, there'll be more details provided over time. We'll update the traffic study for the current number of units at that time. As you know, as these projects go through the process, things get refined, and the unit count sometimes will come down or maybe go up occasionally. So we've done all that. Some of the recommendations of the traffic study is that, as you may know, that County Road 13 and County Road 178 form a 90-degree turn. With this project, will include an extension of County Road 13 as a current standard, with current standards to the north, to provide access off of 13. It will also extend 178 to the east of 13 to provide access to the south side of the property. So those extensions will just be along the property frontage, and so in the future, those could be extended further. But for now, this property is going to make that 90-degree intersection into a four-way. The traffic study shows at some point in the future, there may need to be a traffic signal or roundabout there. That'll be more refined further as we go through the process as well. And I'm here for the remainder of the hearing. If you have any questions that come up, I mainly wanted to get up and speak and say we did this study. If you have any questions, I'm happy to get up and explain it. I wasn't able to make it to Planning Commission, which I'm afraid may have led to some of the questions. So I wanted to make sure I was here today to answer your questions. So I'm here and be happy to do that as we move forward. And right now, I'll turn it back over to Julie.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. We wanted to speak to you briefly about some of the adjacent development, not only in our immediate vicinity, but kind of in the broader context as well. It was certainly something that we've heard from Planning Commission and the neighbors as far as compatibility with the area. So as Jennifer mentioned, we are directly adjacent to the Spring Valley PUD to our south, and we are approximately a half mile from our density to their density, if that makes sense. The PUD for Spring Valley has a couple of 35-acre lots that kind of on their northern edge. And as mentioned previously, the current ownership also has 4 35-acre parcels not included in this rezone that is intended to remain 35-acre parcels to help provide some buffering to the larger agricultural units to our north as well. Sorry, Jennifer, could you go back? As you can see in this graphic, we're the project site up there kind of in the upper left corner, and this graphic generally depicts the Spring Valley development. As you move to a broader context, we've shown some of the additional developments in the area, including Spring Valley, Independence, Morstead, and then Elbert County East and West. At the recommendation of the Planning Commission, we did look at the densities and the unit counts in those adjacent developments. There was a question posed on how do you compare to what else is happening in the county. So those specific information is listed here, but generally speaking, densities range anywhere from just below 1 DU per acre to 4.5 DU per acre throughout those developments in different filings, and our proposed DU is 2.17 on the gross. So we wanted to go through the rezoning criteria and where we believe we are meeting the criteria. So A, providing consistency with the comp plan. The development will pay the costs for both on and off-site road improvements and utilities as required by the development. We're preserving 43% of the site for open space, including floodplains and wildlife corridors, by utilizing a clustered development style. We're providing a diverse range of housing options, really to meet the projected population growth and an aging community. Providing 47 acres of parks and open space for public use. Water, sewer, and other utilities are available to the project. We have met the required 300-year water supply, and we wanted to note that that 300-year supply is met independently by the water rights owned by Coyote Ridge and will be dedicated to Spring Valley. We are not relying on Spring Valley to provide those water rights. Coyote Ridge will join an established metro district to receive that water and sewer by joining Spring Valley, focusing new development adjacent to existing services. We're adjacent to and will improve arterial roads, including County Road 13 and 178, to enhance the existing infrastructure. Our parks and open space standards, things like equipment types, parking, trails, landscape, construction, maintenance, et cetera, and water conservation goals are all considered in the design guidelines. Vegetation and land characteristics are considered, including no-build zones and water-efficient design and irrigation standards. We preserve the significant wildlife habitat and migration corridors in the floodplains, and the floodplains are specifically protected in the no-build areas as in the PUD documentation. For criteria B, the density is limited to 5 DU per acre, providing compatibility with surrounding land uses. As noted before, the proposed density would be 2.1 DU per acre, and is similar to Spring Valley Ranch development directly to the south. The existing lower density and agricultural properties to the north will be buffered by those 35-acre parcels. The rezoning will not impact the provision of public services, as while we are building to county standards, they will be privately maintained. The rezoning will not impact the environment by preserving the floodplains, and again, we have a significant portion of our land is put into parks and open space. The rezoning would not create unreasonable traffic congestion, and again, Chris is here to answer any traffic-related questions. It certainly was a topic both at Planning Commission and through our public input. Rezoning is not detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants. We also wanted to take a few minutes to talk through the comments that we heard from the PC, from the Planning Commission, and what our responses to those questions and concerns were. So I have a list that I'll just quickly go through. So again, we talked about the similar projects in Elbert County by size and by acres. Those two maps that were in the presentation today were provided to Planning Commission before our second meeting, so that information was given back. There were questions about how water was going to be conveyed to the Spring Valley Metro District. And generally speaking, there's two options for the water transfer. One being that the water would be put into the Coyote Ridge Metro District, and then the Metro District would convey the water. And the second option is that should a developer purchase the project, the developer would purchase the water rights with the property, and they would then convey the water rights to Spring Valley. So in either scenario, the water rights must be conveyed to Spring Valley to have our water and sanitation met. Planning Commission was very interested in kind of what the final build-out would look like, including the price point of new homes. We're anticipating that prices of homes range from approximately $500,000 to more than $1 million. This obviously could change significantly in the near term or in the next few years based on a lot of different environmental and economic factors. So that is generally a big range, but also kind of hard to nail down at this moment. Several architectural styles are allowed in the PUD. Planning Commission was curious on what the vision was and how these are used in the neighborhood. And from a planning standpoint, the idea is that diverse architectural styles just lead to a little less of that cookie cutter look, a little bit more of a custom look, and allow people to go after a style that interests them. A builder has not yet been determined for this site, so there is no current plan for a future person or company. final square footage is going to average approximately 2,000 square foot per unit. All of these responses were provided to Planning Commission, and that packet, which has more detail than these bullet points, are available from staff, or from us, either way. So we had the opportunity to have a second hearing with Planning Commission, at which point we got a handful more questions and comments that we wanted to let you guys know. One of the questions was, what was the fiscal impact of the development? So based on our economic modeling, with 237 proposed units at an average market value of $561,000, the market value at total build-out is approximately $133 million for the total project. Elbert County, based on the mill levies that are currently published, would receive the funds from the property taxes. As you can see here in this chart, the total prior to the Metro District for annual property tax revenue to the county would be approximately $750,000 a year. Another question we received was, how does the project meet the need for additional Elbert County sheriffs? Based on current data and what the county does today as far as service levels, the county has one sheriff in the field per 3,550 residents. It's projected that Coyote Ridge will produce 735 residents total at build-out, equaling approximately 20% of one full-time equivalent sheriff's position. The department is currently funded out of the general fund, to which Coyote Ridge will contribute approximately $207,000 annually at build-out. So we feel like we are contributing funds into adding staffing levels to the sheriff's office. We heard a question about why 2 setbacks are allowed within the PUD guidelines at garages. That is because we have proposed 2 options for garage loading. One would be a front-loaded option where you would pull directly in and off of the street, and the second would be an alley-loaded option where we want to have people pull off of the street and park in their driveway, providing a bigger setback. We do not want people to stop in the alley at their garage door and block the alley. So for a front-loaded product, we are recommending a 20-foot setback to garage doors, and for an alley-loaded product, we are recommending a 3-foot setback to discourage people from blocking the alley. The Planning Commission noted several figures regarding the number of approved units across the county that far exceeded the population or anticipated growth, and implied that this project wasn't needed based on those numbers. Our economic modeling shows that the current build-out rate of 400 units per year, the inventory of the 3,000 units, which was generally speaking the number that the Planning Commission provided, represent approximately a 7.5-year supply at the current build-out rate. Planning Commission noted that traffic caused by the project was undesirable. The traffic study at this time indicates that a minimal impact on surrounding roads, and it was reviewed by staff. And again, Chris is here to answer any questions related to that, as it was a big topic both with Planning Commission and with the public. And then finally, how is this project going to address comments from Colorado Parks and Wildlife? Jennifer has shown the comment, and I also have the specific comment noted here, but really that the CPW comment makes recommendation for future developments adjacent to this site to make sure that those wildlife corridors already provided continue and are congruent as development continues. So we feel that this specific comment is really a future comment, but we are very cognizant that wildlife is important, the corridors need to be maintained, and that we need to make sure that those movements can continue to happen. Thank you so much for your time. Myself and Chris are here for any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. All right, public input. We have any public comments? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Lisa Ford. I live at 43590 Ptarmigan Ranch Street in Parker. It's right there at the corner of 13 and 178. So it's adjacent to this proposed community. The one thing I would like to say, I don't know when the noise, and the traffic reports were done, but I've been there 18 months, and I can tell you in 18 months, I've watched semi-trucks full of dirt going really heavily trafficking that road, and I do think it does have an impact. The other concern that I have, I also have the noise of the oil wells that are just adjacent to my property. So I have the noise of that, the noise of traffic. And every time a new community is built, a prairie dog will migrate 5 miles. And for the last 6 years, which I've owned that land, I've spent probably close to $20,000 mitigating prairie dogs. And every time a new community is built, they move onto my land, which is 140 acres. I own 4 35-acre lots in Ptarmigan Ranch. So these are just concerns of mine, and obviously the Upper Dawson, which is the water that we're on, that we just don't deplete that. I'm not against this community, I'm not here to say that, but I would like, the commission to think about, we give these communities 35-acre lots to build, and then a year or two later, they don't want to build 35-acre lots, now they want 10-acre lots. So I'm adjacent to what was originally 2 35-acre lots in Ptarmigan Ranch, which are now 80 acres, and now which will be 8 10-acre lots, and access off of 13, which is also very close to Coyote Ridge. So every time we take this, this planning and this, we give you this designation, and now we keep changing it, and we're going to add 734 more residents onto that 7-mile stretch of road, right from 13 where we hit Delbert Road. I'm just telling you, as a resident, I feel it, I see it, and I think there is an impact. I've seen the impact on the antelope. I have not seen deer but once in 18 months. To me, that's concerning. But these are just things that I think about as a member of this community, and things that I would like you to think about now and all future requests to change zoning. Thank you for your time today. I'm so appreciative.
Thank
I need
you.
to sign this little
Did you
form
put-
here. Should I sign this?
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that.
Thank you. I'm done. I'll just take.
Any other public comments? All right, going once, going twice. Okay. At this point in time, I'll let our Board of Commissioners ask questions and have some discussion on this. So if you wouldn't mind turning to the platform. Thank you. Commissioner Schroeder?
Yeah, I don't have much. The perimeter roads that were discussed, extending 13 and 178, I don't know if you're the right person to answer this question. The internal roads to be maintained by the development.
Correct.
But those extensions then would be county-maintained
Correct.
roads.
And Jennifer, could you go to the PUD graphic slide? It might be helpful. The extension of County Road 13 will go all the way to the northern property line of that 112 acres, which will provide access not only to the 112 acres, but will also provide access to those 35-acre parcels to the north, so we're not landlocking anybody. And the extension of County Road 178 will go approximately 2/3 across the southern boundary line. This will provide 2 points of access into Coyote Ridge, but will not incur the costs and dead-end road to go all the way out to the east, because there is nothing to connect to at this time.
I don't know if it's a permanent pond or at least a retention there on the west side of the property. Will that still remain and used as part of the drainage for the property?
Yes, so both the west and the east side of the property have fairly significant floodplains, designated floodplains through FEMA. So those floodplain boundaries will change. We're not anticipating going through a CLOMA or a LOMA process, and our detention and water quality will be tied to those floodplains as appropriate as the drainage is developed through the engineering process, which we haven't started yet. So more details on those to come. But we are anticipating on-site detention.
That's all I have at this time.
Commissioner Buck?
Yeah, I have a few questions. Are you still anticipating a 6-year build-out? I think I saw that in our packet.
6 years is what we have been kind of discussing. As I mentioned, we don't have a builder interested. We don't have a partnership with a builder or a developer at this time. It's being privately developed, quote unquote, by Dave and Bill. So that timeline, well, it is what we are anticipating. It is very morphable at this moment.
I was just curious where you got that number from. So, because we're constantly hearing that, these developments take 15 to 20 years for a build-out, and they long-term projects. 6 years is kind of a medium, fairly aggressive project, I think. I just wanted to get your thoughts on where that 6 years came from.
Yeah, part of it is based on just the development timeline to go through this process, the rezoning and this preliminary plat and all of those things. We're anticipating that we probably have another 18 months of paperwork, for lack of a better term. And certainly during that time, we're hoping to, in concurrence, form a partnership with a developer. Generally speaking, for every 100 or so homes, it takes between 1 and 3 years to build out. So at 237 units, we're just anticipating that 6-year term based on market absorption rates that we're seeing currently in this area.
Okay. I was just curious. And then the community meeting that you had 22 people in attendance. So you had pretty good attendance, I think. Some of the concerns included traffic, obviously, which was discussed. And I'm glad you brought Chris today because I have a few questions in regards to the traffic study. Obviously, density, open space, compatibility, some of those kinds of things. So I'm going to kind of touch on some of those. For example, review criteria number 2, whether it is compatible with surrounding land use. So let's touch on that real quick, because when I see 3 sides ag land, I say, okay, well, is it compatible or not? I mean, it's right near Spring Valley, but you also have 3 sides that are zoned ag. So now you see a PUD, high-density PUD, or a higher-density PUD. So that's where some of that concern from those citizens come in.
Sure.
And then I may share that same concern. Whenever I see that, I open my eyes a little bit wider and say, okay, hey, I need to look at this.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I'm seeing, and I'm sure that's what they saw.
And it's certainly something that we see also, right? I mean, you can't look at it and say, well, this fits right in, because as you mentioned, we are different than the neighbors. For compatibility, on the high-level planning side of life, compatibility is a really open-ended, fairly subjective question, comment, because it's really based on goals and values, which are going to be different person to person and project to project.
I agree.
So what we did is we tried to look to the comp plan, to the written documentation that the county provides to match up our goals with what the county has published as their goals. Compatibility as a term specifically isn't described in your guys' comp plan, so we also took some leaps to define that, and where I am at with the definition, and I'll invite Dave and Bill to jump up here too, is I think what we're looking to do is we're looking to provide a community where its citizens, whether they've been in the county for 35 or 40 years, or whether they're coming to the county for whatever reason, have the ability to select a home site that matches their goals in life. I grew up in Douglas County, about 5 miles from the county line, so I'm very familiar with Elbert County and with the rural lifestyle here that people know and love. And my mom, a recent widow, would love to be able to downsize in her community, from a 10-acre parcel to something that she can manage by herself now. So for me, that's a compatibility, because the value for me is allowing people to stay in their community as they age, or allowing people to move into the community as working professionals. Another value may be someone who just doesn't want to do the yard work anymore. A 35-acre parcel it's a big responsibility. And as lifestyles change, or job responsibility changes, or family responsibilities change, the priority for their time may just want to go somewhere different. For me, the value in having different housing types is giving people who are in the community or want to be in the community choices that may not exactly match the neighbor, but isn't better or worse, it's just different.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about our comp plan real quick. Everybody references it, all the applicants reference it, but it appears that they leave out parts of it.
Sure.
They highlight the parts they like, they leave out the parts they don't like. So one of the criteria that's specified in our comprehensive plan, RD2, is that cluster home developments should be within a 3-mile service influence area of county towns, and this project is not.
That is correct. We are not. That being said, we are adjacent to similar PUDs, specifically Spring Valley, and we are in a larger, in our opinion, a larger regional context of this northwest corner of the county, which is in close proximity to Douglas County, Parker, the Denver metro area, and is the forefront of development as it moves this direction. So we feel like this is a much more compatible location for development at this time than somewhere off of the Mall Road, for instance. So I 100% agree that that is what the comp plan says and that it was not a criteria we referenced because we do not meet that criteria.
But you did reference the comprehensive plan, but you didn't reference parts that you didn't
meet.
Didn't meet, yeah.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to point that out. Review criteria number 4, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely affect the environment. This response was there was no indication that the PUD would negatively impact the environment. But on page 263 of our packet from Colorado Parks and Wildlife, I think Jennifer highlighted that. It states that this land use is inconsistent with adjacent lands to the north and west and will further fragment existing wildlife habitat in a significant way.
Any development is going to fragment wildlife habitat, whether it be a 1-acre parcel or a 100-acre parcel or a 1,000-acre parcel. So while we recognize that that is happening, and it's happening all over Colorado, it's happening all over the country, we are working to, as I said, maintain those floodplain corridors, which oftentimes wildlife moves with and in the direction of those floodplain and drainage corridors. It's, you know, the easiest way to get from point A to point B for many of the animals. And we're also clustering the development, providing corridors to move east and west. So I understand your point. It's well taken, but to provide zero impact, that would mean zero development.
Well, it just said, I'm just reading this on page 204, which says there is no indication that the PUD would negatively impact the environment. So, and then I read the letter from the Colorado Parks and Wildlife. They're saying it's significant. So just this discrepancy I wanted to point out. Review criteria number 5, whether the proposed rezoning would create unreasonable traffic congestion or burden the existing road system without improvements. So I'm glad you brought Chris, because I had some questions about the traffic study. I have no idea whether it will burden the existing system or not, looking at that traffic study. So I want you to clarify it for me, if you would. It was a concern of mine. It's a concern of 22 people at the community meeting. It was a concern of the Planning Commission. So I think it's worth going over. The word assumed was used 25 plus times, and then I lost count. So a lot of assumptions. If this turns into a 4-lane, or this turns into this, and this gets a light, and this, then it may not, you know. So I have no idea. So I wanted to go over it with you. There was some recommended improvements on page 295 of our packet, and there's a table 3. And it was very detailed on who is responsible for what development, let's say, because there's obviously other developments in the area that are going to contribute to the traffic flow. But my concern is these, what did we call them? There is a regional impact fee. Is that a recommendation that we implement a regional impact fee? I just kind of wanted to go over that table, if we could put that up there. It's on page 295, I believe. And you even went so far as to say, hey, we're only responsible for 12% or 10% of this traffic flow. So I appreciate that detail, but it appeared you needed a lot of help to hit these level of service thresholds to make this work. And my question is, and Monty may be able to answer this, do we have contracts or agreements with those other developments currently in place to make all those dreams and wishes come true on that traffic study? No offense. I'm just saying I can't understand it.
Sure. So we were very thorough in our upfront work with the county and Kimley Horn, who's the county's traffic consultant, and is similar place in the market as me. We review each other's studies from time to time. So this table was just meant to show, previously before this study was done, there was an updated study for Spring Valley Ranch in the last 4 or 5 years. There was an updated study for Morstead. There was EC West, which is called Crescents now. There's EC East, which is Prominence now. And those projects are all on different levels of review, or in some cases, like Spring Valley Ranch, where they're substantially built or in the process of being built out. So we wanted to make sure that we had all of those, not only projects, but all of their traffic as well. And so if you removed several of those other projects and it was just Coyote Ranch, this table would look a lot different. And so the idea here is that we coordinated with the county and Kimley Horn to say, is there a there? Can we make this traffic work with everybody else's traffic? And is there a way that all these intersections can be improved, whether it be turn lanes or roundabouts or traffic signals, to make this work 20, 30 years from now when all these projects are substantially built out? And then we'll figure out what is needed when we get further into the process. So at this level, we're just showing that this 200 plus lots, plus all the lots from all the other projects, and all the other improvements from all the other projects, all get made, this all works. Obviously, if a couple of those projects go away or take a different path and have less density, then this all changes. But we just wanted to make sure that we didn't get all of these projects approved and then there just isn't enough ability to improve the roads. So we were just kind of showing to the staff and Kimley Horn that there are a list of improvements that can be made to make this happen. The road impact fee is just an impact fee per rooftop that would just be used for those types of improvements that aren't on anybody's front door. Like if it's our access points, we're going to build those turn lanes. That'll be a requirement of us almost certainly. But if that intersection that's 2 miles away, that's nobody's front door, that's where the road impact fee makes sense to say all these projects are paying a fee. That would be a good use for that fee to do that roundabout or signal that's 2 miles away, but everybody impacts, but it's nobody's front door. So that's kind of what this study was for, just to lay out a high-level outline of how this could all work.
It's actually page 305. I apologize, it's not 295.
Yeah, it's a couple past this. It's one of the 5th or 6th tables. Yeah, if you go about 8 or 10 pages down, you'll find it.
Yeah, it's 305. I'm on it now.
It's going to be 11 by 17 too, so it's probably not going to fit on the screen. Couple more. There's the first page of it. There's 2 pages of it actually. Because there was more than a number of intersections wouldn't fit on one page. But this is the table. So we have it's kind of complicated. I think only an engineer and accountant could love something like this. But basically on the left at the top we have the roadway alignments, like the corridors of roads. And then further down we have specific intersection by intersection. And then we have 2 different time frames. We have a 2030, which is the year we would expect to be finished. I think when we did this study first, it was 2024, so we said 2030. Maybe it's 2031 or 2032. But on the left side of the column, it's all those short-term improvements. On the far right side of the table is the 2045 or the ultimate build-out. And a lot of those 2045 improvements, there are some assumptions made, like 174 connecting.
25 plus
Yeah.
assumptions made, and then the other one was expected. We expect this to happen. There was 20 plus expectations included in there.
Well, traffic studies is a lot of forecasting, so
Yeah, it
you
is,
always
it
have to
is.
set up what were our exceptions.
I was just surprised by the number of assumptions, that's all.
There are definitely, that's why we wanted to coordinate heavily with staff up front, because we didn't want to get caught in a trap of, everything looks great, but we didn't vet it with the right people. So we feel like we vetted it through the right people, and so we were pretty confident once we got the feedback that there were no more comments, that, we're good for now, and if the project moves forward, we'll probably have to show some more detail in the future. Maybe not more detail as far as volume, but more specific detail on exactly the number of lots that we're going to do and what somebody down the road might do. And so this will definitely get refined over time if we move forward.
Gotcha. I was concerned about one sentence on there. On the very bottom of that table, it says, improvements assigned to the regional impact fee could also be funded partially or in whole by other existing or proposed developments or by Douglas or Elbert County. Now, Comprehensive Plan RD1 states that new residential development should cover all costs of on- and off-site road and utilities required to meet the associated demands of that development. So my question is, does that sentence imply that Elbert County is going to be picking up some of the tab for these improvements? 'Cause
Well,
that's kind of like what it says.
Sure. So basically, there are a lot of intersections in this traffic study that have improvements that have nothing to do with Coyote Ridge. It's just the background traffic that we have to assume that happens behind us needs a right turn lane at a movement where we can't turn right because of where our project's located. So we have a lot of things in this project that we won't do or participate in because it's in our study area, but it's not a traffic movement that we make.
I understand.
It may be that a developer escrows money with the county, and so 8 years later, when someone builds the project, or that turn lane, or that traffic signal, the county's contributing money, but it came from development. And so that's kind of the idea, is that we're just saying that if we just put others, the question we get is, who are others? Well, we're trying to identify who the others might be. Most likely, it's another developer. It could be the county, or Douglas County. Like, for instance, at Delbert Road, there's several intersections in this traffic study. They're on Delbert Road. That's joint between the two counties. And so there may be a sharing with Douglas County and Elbert County, where Elbert County is funded by a developer in Elbert County, but Douglas County just puts up the money. So it's hard to say how that's all going to work. So we put this in here because 6, 7 years ago, when we started doing these types of tables, we put others, and it just generated a lot of comments. So we try to identify who others is.
Yeah. So just my only concern is we may or may not have agreements with the others, and, you know, we want to keep that flow at the highest level of service as possible, and we make a lot of assumptions, the same way you would, that we would get those contracts and intergovernmental agreements with those other developments. So we're making some of those same assumptions, so I'm concerned about it, and then when I see the language that, hey, Elbert County may have to pick some of this up too, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. It made me look at it twice. I hadn't seen a report like this. I just wanted you to clarify it, and I'm glad you're here to clarify it.
Yep, thanks. Yep, yeah, we're happy to answer any more questions too. So
Yeah, I'm not sure I have any more on traffic. Let me see. What about the impact fees? The regional impact fees, I don't know if we have a regional impact fee in place now. Is that a new fee that you recommend or propose that the county implement?
I believe there is one, isn't there? Is there not? Yeah, it's traffic. Maybe it's traffic impact fee. Yeah, I don't know if we have the wording right, but it's assigned per rooftop.
Gotcha.
So, and you know, I'm not sure what the exact amount is. I think it's several $1,000s per rooftop.
It is. Currently, that's going towards maintenance. We don't do a lot of road construction and different things. We do some resurfacing and we do some maintenance, but we don't have a lot of funds, and those funds don't go very far. So just wanted to throw that out. So other than that, additional housing opportunities was brought up as well. I appreciate that. You mentioned maybe we have a 6 or 7 year supply. We are well over that, just for your future reference, that is already in the pipeline. We are 3 times over what the housing needs calls for. So I don't have anything else other than that.
All right, thank you, sir. I've got a couple of questions regarding water. Have you identified what aquifer you're planning to use for water?
So I'm looking at Dave just to double check. We are in 2 of the aquifers.
Okay.
Jim Marshall with Spring Valley.
Okay.
Jim Marshall, Spring Valley Ranch. We have been talking to the landowners for 2 or 3 years about the water supply. They do have the water rights. We understand it's the 300-year water rule. There's plenty of water. We'll probably drill 1 or 2 wells, at least 1 well on their site. And they would either be a Denver or an Arapahoe water. They're not Upper Dawson. Somebody mentioned the Upper Dawson earlier. We don't drill into the Dawson at all. So it won't be impacting any of the neighbors from a water standpoint. And just for what it's worth, Spring Valley, we are drilling 3 new wells this year. We're drilling in a Denver and Arapahoe and a Laramie Fox Hills. So we'll be up to 8 wells.
All right, thank you.
While Jim was speaking, I was able to pull up, the water rights consist of Denver Basin, underlying the properties owned by the applicant include both, yeah. So the water will be coming from the Denver Basin.
The Denver Basin is the Laramie, Fox Hill, the Arapahoe, and the Denver. That's what the Denver Basin consists of. And between Spring Valley and the owners of the Coyote Ridge, we have enough water to supply 6 Coyote Ridges.
Hey, Jim, can I ask you a question while you're up there? Are you drilling any new wells because you're losing production in any of the
No.
existing wells?
We're drilling them because we're growing. And, we've always tried to stay 2 or 3 years ahead of our demand. But we will drill a couple more before Spring Valley's built out.
The reason I ask is I've seen studies and seen reports where metro districts, similar to yourself, have had to re-drill multiple wells because production has dropped off significantly in some of the wells.
I think there's 2 things that everybody's learned over the last 25 or 30 years. When I first started in Parker back in 1992, I guess it was, Parker Water got a 10-acre water well site from me at my project called Canterbury, and they drilled about 12 wells on that 5-acre, 10-acre site. And yeah, they did have a depletion issues because they were so close together. Our Arapahoe, Denvers, and LFHs are spread out at least 1 mile to 2 miles apart, and the wells do, over time, they do lose some capacity, but we rest our wells too. We're not running them 24/7, and they do recharge. We have not yet, in 20 years, had to re-drill a well because it wasn't producing. And we're still producing to similar levels that we did when we drilled them.
Great news.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
I don't have any other questions at this time. Thank you. So next on the is the BOCC decision. Is there a motion on the table?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I believe that the applicant has demonstrated that they have met the requirements to be a PUD zone. Therefore, I will make a motion to approve Coyote Ridge PUD, case number PUD-2024-0258.
All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second? Going once? All right, motion dies for lack of a second. Right.
Commissioners, typically at this point, if you don't have a motion to approve the application, you should have someone propose a motion to deny the application and see if that gets a majority of the board.
Okay, is there a motion to deny?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to deny Coyote Ridge Plan Unit Development PUD 2024-0258.
Is there a second? I'll make a second. Motion to deny. There's a motion and a second. All in favor? Sign of aye.
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 Nay.
2 ayes, 1 nay. Motion carries.
So Commissioners, at this point, I would ask that you continue this item and direct staff, that primarily being the Director of Community Planning and the County Attorney's Office, to prepare a written resolution of denial to bring forward at your next business meeting so you can finalize your decision.
Okay. You got that, Corey? All right. Thank you. Need a motion to close this land use hearing? Wait. You need to wait on that till we get through with this, and we can talk to you, because we're in a formal situation right now, so you can't ask a question right now. Sorry. Okay. All right, is there a motion to close the land use hearing?
Mr. Commissioner, I make a motion, we close Coyote Ridge Plan Unit Development, PUD 2024-0258.
Is there a second? I'll second the motion. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. I'm asking if we could take 5 minutes. So we're going to recess. You can approach. Yes, sir. We're going to recess for 5 minutes. All right, we'll call this meeting back to order. It's 3:25 p.m. Next item on the agenda is the Crescent's filing 1 FP-2024-0291. I'll ask the board, do we want to do these together or do you want to do these separately? So, you want to do them together? Okay. Also, Crescent's filing number 2, which is FP-2025-0001. Is there a motion to open a land use hearing on these two items, number 4 and 5?
Mr. Chair, I move we open the public hearing on Crescent's filing number 1, FP 2024-0291, and concurrently hear Crescent's filing number 2, FP 2025-0001.
Right, there is a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. All in favor, sign of aye.
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 All right, motion carries.
All right, thanks, Commissioners. Jen Gardner here from contract reviewer from Logan Simpson for the county. I'll be presenting these applications this afternoon. So a little bit of background. This is filings 1 and 2 final plats for the EC West or Crescent's PUD. The name originally came in as EC West before the name of Crescent's was kind of defined for the project, so you'll hear both terms. Filings 1 and 2 are primarily for infrastructure, 136 residential units, some super blocks that are being platted for future commercial development or school sites or whatever ends up being the need. And at least 12 acres, which could include about 12 acres of commercial. The original PUD was for 1,464 acres zoned for mixed-use residential. Filing 1 shown here includes, it's all within Village 1, so there's 2 villages, and it includes the road improvements on County Road 29 in kind of that brownish orange color, some additional water and wastewater infrastructure improvements, and like I said before, those super blocks, 54 residential units, which will include a mix of townhomes and single-family attached, and then 77.5 acres of open space. Filing 2 kind of nestled in between those 2 pieces of filing 1, also within Village 1, 27 acres, about 1.85% of the entire PUD area. Primarily includes some street improvements on Wild Prairie Parkway and Golden Vista Boulevard, 82 single-family detached residential dwelling units, kind of one of the little pockets of residential there, 3 tracts and 26 acres of open space. Just kind of highlighting the process, the Planning Commission hearing and Board of County Commissioner hearings were noticed properly through Ranchland News, on-site postings, and the certifications of notice of mineral rights have been received. There was a pre-application meeting in February 7th of 2024, 2 community meetings in 2024, April and July. The application was, the initial application for filing 1 was submitted in November of 2024. And then I think filing 2 followed very shortly thereafter. So we were able to send those out for referrals per the chart that you see here today. Final referral went out in September. There were only a few very minor comments to be addressed at that time. So they were able to resolve that fairly quickly so we could get to the Planning Commission hearing in September. And here we are today. All the typical referral agencies were notified of this application. I will note that the, where is it on there? Elizabeth Parks and Recreation District or Department was not initially on our referral list. They have been updating their Parks and Recreation plans more recently and would like to start to be notified of referrals henceforth. So that's why some of their comments came a little bit later in the process. You heard on the last application mention of the comprehensive plan. Since this has already been through the rezoning for the PUD, we just wanted to highlight the one land use goal to encourage a variety of lot sizes and residential densities, to preserve open space, visual, historic, and natural character. Generally, our review found that this application was in compliance with the comprehensive goals. So consideration for decision, quite a few items here. Filing 1 and 2 final plats were reviewed by staff against the criteria of the subdivision and zoning codes. There were no unresolved response comments or evidence to the contrary. It does substantially conform with the preliminary plat approved by the Board of County Commissioners on December 13th, 2023. Could be found to comply with all requirements for residential density and conservation. It was recommended for approval by a 4-2 vote of the Planning Commission on September 16th. Some additional considerations for decision that are located in the subdivision code. The subdivider has provided evidence that provision has been made for sufficient water supply in accordance with state laws. The subdivider has provided evidence to establish that public sewage system would comply with state and local laws and regulations. The subdivider has provided evidence to show that all areas of the proposed subdivision, which may involve soil or topographical conditions presenting hazards or requiring special precautions, have been identified and mitigated. The application does comply with requirements of the Elbert County subdivision regulations and Elbert County zoning regulations. All technical requirements applicable to the subdivisions have been satisfied with a final plat that is a very lengthy list. So rather than listing out all of the different road considerations and lot sizes and setbacks, we have ensured that those have all been met. The subdivision regulations in Article 6K8A, residential density conservation community requirements have been met. They're required to meet 50% open space. The Crescents EC West will have central water and central sewer with formation of a metropolitan district, and the number of dwelling units shall not exceed the 300-year aquifer allocation. Subdivision regulation 11K8B, diverse housing types, is met with a variety of lot sizes, configurations, and cluster development. The final plat, preliminary plat, and PUD rezoning support a variety of housing types, as we've mentioned before. There's a minimum requirement of 10% of the total residential units need to achieve a net density of 6 dwelling units per acre. As the filings are coming in, they're adding up their allocations accumulatively. So filings 1 and 2 do provide 30.8% of the property at 6 dwelling units per acre. And then that minimum open space requirement of 50% is currently being met at 80%. The subdivision improvement agreement is in progress, and the district overlap agreement for Parks and Recreation is in progress. So our findings were that the filing 1 and 2 final plat include all the documents and information required of the subdivision regulations, meet the criteria of approval per the zoning regulations, and as approved by the Board of County Commissioners on December 13th. The filing 1 and 2 plat substantially conform with the preliminary plat. The filing 1 and 2 plats include a phasing plan, meet the criteria of approval for subdivision regulations, and as discussed before, conditions of approval have been met from the preliminary plat. Just wanted to give a really brief update on the Planning Commission recommendation. You have a little bit more information in your staff report. It was presented to the Planning Commission on September 16th. There was no public comment. There was quite a bit of discussion with the Planning Commission centered on clarifications, timelines, infrastructure, sidewalks, and that Parks and Recreation District review comment that came in a little bit later in the game. Ultimately, they did vote to recommend approval by a 4-2 vote with conditions. Some potential conditions of approval to consider with your application. As the subdivision improvement agreement that is underway should be fully executed and recorded with the final plat. The application shall remove all signs within 2 weeks of the conclusion of all notified meetings. The final plat shall not become effective until all fees are paid and conditions are met. A recordation of all appropriate documentation shall occur within 180 days of this hearing or the approval. And then, in accordance with Colorado law, upon filing by any district which is authorized by its service plan to provide parks and recreation services of a petition with the district court to include the filing within its properties, the district court shall require the district has entered into an overlap agreement with the Elizabeth Parks and Recreation District. So with that, I believe the applicant has a brief presentation.
Okay. Hi.
I'm getting that loaded up. Oh, I think I lost my screen share.
You make sure your mic's on too, if you don't mind. Should be green.
Test.
There you go. All right, thank you.
Okay, you're good to.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, members of county staff, members of the public. My name is Carolyn White, and I'm Land Use Counsel for the applicant for these two filings that are before you, Colorado Ranch and Land Holdings, LLC, also known as Craft Companies. We thank you for the opportunity to present these two applications to you today. These are the first two final plat filings of the overall Crescents project. On the next slide, we list several members of our team, and all of these members are available to answer questions for you, but not all of them are part of our formal presentation today. Just myself and Susan Wade of Redlands will be giving the presentation. Next slide. Little agenda for what we're going to talk to you about today. Just a little bit of an overview of the process, how we got here today, and what you've already approved to date. Overview of the overall community, and then the vision, and then zooming in on specifically what is within these two applications in front of you, filings 1 and 2, which are the first two of several subsequent filings that will be coming forward as this community builds out over the next several years. Next slide. This slide really summarizes the guiding principles that Craft Companies honors within its development. You have seen this slide before, and we've talked to you extensively about it before, so I won't spend a great deal of time on it, but just wanted to remind you that overall, this project was designed, and these final plats are designed with these key principles and values in mind, and they include things like smart growth, phased development, water conservation, commercial economic development, and all of these are accomplished within these two filings, 1 and 2. Next slide. This is a different way of looking at the process that we've been through so far, and I just want to highlight, the initial studies and designs for this application that's now manifesting itself before you actually started back in 2021, 2023. Because, before it gets to you, there's a lengthy process of us creating the studies and then submitting them to staff, and then referral comments and, 4 rounds of review, just like you saw on the staff slide. And that resulted in the PUD approval that this body approved back in December of 2023, and also the preliminary plat approval. So with those approvals, you've already decided what are the uses, what are the densities, and generally how is it going to be laid out. Now we're coming in with filings 1 and 2, those first two final plats, with the specificity and the engineering for the first two phases, if you will, of the development, and with more precision about exactly how the lots are going to lay out, exactly how the roads are going to lay out, exactly how that open space is going to lay out. So just to sort of put that in context, how this decision relates to all the prior decisions that you've already made about this project. Next slide. This timeline also incorporates, in addition to those things that I discussed previously, the public meeting. So again, it's just a different view of some of the information staff provided to you about the timeline that has got us to this point, starting with community meetings in April and July of 2024, and then several rounds of review and referral comments, and then ultimately the Planning Commission hearing, which happened last month, and now we're here before you for your review of these two final plats. And I also just want to mention, maybe perhaps more for the public than anything else, that this is not the last step in the process, right? The county still has some additional reviews to conduct on a more technical level, and that is the wastewater facility and water facility that will come forward, and there'll be technical engineering reviews on those. There'll be building permit and construction drawing reviews, and those are at the administrative level, but there are additional opportunities for the county to review some of those more technical and engineering components of the project. Next slide. I have listed on here the criteria, and we're going to come back to the criteria at the end, but the other thing that I just want to mention is that, again, in order to get to this point, it has to be determined by staff through that extensive review process that the application meets all of the technical requirements in the Elbert County subdivision regulations, and that it also is compliant with any previous approvals, such as the PUD that you already approved and the preliminary plat that you already approved. So those create the framework within which you take a look at this final plat. There's also, as you know, this additional legal documentation that comes at the final plat stage. That is the subdivision improvement agreement, which is in process. We've been working with the county attorney on that, and that gets recorded along with the final plat and sets forth the legal obligation of the applicant to construct the public improvements that are required to serve the development in each of these filings. And that also is according to county code and county requirements and the form that has been previously agreed upon by the county. So just kind of overall background, again, the whole project, all of Crescents, is about that 1,400 acres, 1,464. Yeah.
Can you go back to the last slide just real quick?
Yeah.
Just for a second. Okay, thank you.
I didn't talk about the last one because I have a whole slide on that one coming up. So overall, the whole project is 1,400 acres. It's mixed-use residential, maximum of 2,850 units, including commercial and retail, minimum of 12 acres up to 40 acres, and that is phased development over time. This application is just a small part, the very first component of that overall project, if you will. The staff showed you earlier in their report a calculation of the cumulative percentages, and just remember that that's just based on what's in these two filings, right? So the denominator is how many acres are in these two filings, and the numerator is how many units. And so every filing that comes forward, those numbers will change and the total percentage will change. But the overall maximum units and densities has already been determined in the PUD. So with this application, filings numbers 1 and 2, we are doing a lot of it is infrastructure, as you'll see. We've got 136 residential units, and we're carving out those super blocks for where the future commercial is going to go. Next slide. And then lastly, this vicinity map shows not only where the project is located, you can see in that lighter yellow color sort of to the right on the larger graphic. This is also a snapshot of the western portion of Elbert County and an excerpt from the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan, which indicates generally that you want to target the majority of your residential growth towards this western side of the county. And so this is really mostly relevant at the points that you've already decided on, which is the preliminary PUD and the preliminary plat, the PUD and the preliminary plat. But it's just a refresher here to see how this fits in with the overall plans of the county relative to where you have said you want to direct the growth in the county. Next slide. So now to provide a little more detail about the specific development that's shown in filings 1 and 2, I'd like to introduce Susan Wade of Redland.
Thanks, Carolyn. I get to talk about the fun stuff, so she got to talk about the legal stuff. So as you can see, Crescent's Filing 1 and 2 is really a small first step for the overall community. It includes only 4.8% of the allowable residential units. Crescent's Filing 1 and 2 are aligned and compatible with the approved PUD and preliminary plat. Next slide. The overall community is designed as a whole. It's an integrated system of streets, clustered neighborhoods, infrastructure, parks, and open space. The overall vision was initially created with the approved PUD and preliminary plat, and now filings 1 and 2 are implementing that vision. Next. The initial entry is located off the County Line Road 29, heading east into the neighborhood. The community entry includes a meandering divided median, entry signage, and low water-wise plant palette. Next. Filing 1 was designed and scaled as a small village with only 54 units, as Carolyn mentioned, and 3 super blocks. These super blocks will come back in front of the county for future land development. So the county will see the planning concepts, review, and approve once they're ready to be developed. All of the internal streets within Crescents will be installed and maintained by the EC West Metro District. The county will not be responsible for any installation or maintenance on the internal streets. Next. The village center also includes a neighborhood park. This park is right-sized for this small village. It'll be part of our first construction phase and open to the public. We've been listening to the conversations at Independence concerning sidewalks. Within Crescents, specific streets associated with certain housing types, such as townhomes or small lot single family, will include sidewalks in certain locations to enhance that walkability. Next. As a conservation community with 50% open space, we've designed our open space to follow the natural drainage corridors, weave throughout the clustered neighborhoods, provide a variety of trail types and amenities open to the public. Next. As Carolyn mentioned, Filing 1 really sets up the key infrastructure bones. The infrastructure provided with Filing 1 will be the potable water facility, the water resource recovery facility, improvements along County Road 29, the collector road heading east into the neighborhood, and the temporary access up to County Road 174. With Filing 1 really setting up those infrastructure elements, Filing 2 is really our true first neighborhood with 82 single-family detached homes. This also illustrates the future locations for future filings 3 and 4, and it illustrates how all 4 of those filings will work together. Now, Carolyn will come back up and talk about the subdivision approval criteria. Thanks.
There we go. So this is your subdivision improvement criteria, and you've seen these before, and staff reviewed them, and they're also in the staff report. We agree with the staff's analysis of these criteria. The first couple, the first 3 really, are sort of, have already objectively been determined. That is, there is an adequate and sufficient water supply. That was reviewed in great detail at the original stages of this application, and there's also a subsequent letter in the packet from the state water engineer certifying that there is adequate water to serve this development. And similarly, we do have our water and wastewater facility that's going to be a state-of-the-art facility owned, operated, and managed by the Water and Sanitation District on site, and that fulfills criteria number 2. Criteria number 3 related to hazardous areas is really not applicable to these first 2 filings. There are no such areas within filings 1 and number 2. For our purposes, probably the most in-depth analysis is relevant to the last 2 criteria, which is compliance with both the zoning regulation and the subdivision regulation, and then ultimately conformance, general conformance with the comprehensive plan. So I'm going to spend just a moment speaking about those 2 things. With respect to the subdivision regulation, as was mentioned by staff, the subdivision regulation is very technical and has literally 300 and some different criteria in it. It talks about, how wide are the setbacks supposed to be? What is the street cut supposed to be? And so for purposes of a public hearing like this, we don't really prepare that level of detail because we'd be here for the whole rest of the day and into the night and all day tomorrow too. But staff does that review, and that's part of what happens in those 4 rounds of referral. And staff has definitively determined that it does comply with all of those technical requirements. However, if there is a requirement in the subdivision regulation that is of particular interest to you, we do have all of those materials available, and we'd be happy to address it in more detail as you would like. But I would like to focus just a little bit on the comprehensive plan, especially because that was an area of inquiry in the prior application. And related, you can leave it on that slide, it doesn't matter. Related to that, we have indeed gone through the entire comprehensive plan and looked at all the ways in which this application fulfills the goals that are set forth in the comprehensive plan. Commissioner Buck, you asked earlier, well, does it fulfill all of the goals in the comprehensive plan? The answer is no, and I suspect that the project has not yet been designed which could in fact fulfill all of the goals in the comprehensive plan, because some of them are actually internally in conflict with each other, right? We have a whole section of goals that says we want more economic development, we want more primary jobs, we want more housing, and we have another whole section of goals that says we want to preserve the maximum amount of open space, we want to preserve the rural feel, and what I would venture to say, however, is that if ever there were a project that could tick nearly all the boxes or the vast majority of the boxes in the goals of the comprehensive plan, it is this one, because it was designed as a conservation community. It does have that 50% plus open space designed in a contiguous way to ensure wildlife habitat corridors are preserved and so on. It meets that need for housing density while at the same time preserving that rural feel. And also, one of the other really important goals in your comprehensive plan has to do with ensuring that new development ensures adequate infrastructure to serve itself and that it pays its own way. And with the Metro District structure that's been approved here, and with the way that those infrastructure costs are being managed and the ongoing maintenance costs, this project absolutely meets that goal. The actual criteria standard is conforms to and is generally consistent with the goals and policies of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. And those are in 5 topic areas: land use, community resources, natural resources, economic development, and recreation and tourism. In terms of land use, this project absolutely does fulfill the goals related to diversity of housing types, and it's actually sort of a unique opportunity for the private sector here to provide a wider variety of housing. And you saw, as when Susan presented to you, how we're distributing that housing with some of the densities that are required by virtue of the conditions of approval from the original approval already being delivered in the very first phase right there in that village center. Additionally, this project includes 2 strategically selected locations for commercial, retail, and medical services. Natural resources, with these very first 2 filings, we are actually providing 80% open space, so vastly exceeding the amount that would be required. And it also advances economic development goals and policies by providing those reserved commercial areas in order to serve the market and try to deliver some of that economic development that was desired as a part of this project. So as we have shown, these 2 final plats complies with all the criteria in the county code, and we ask for your approval, and we will look forward to the opportunity to answer your questions following public comment.
Thank you. All right, is there any public input at this time? All right, seeing none, we will go on to the board's question and discussion. So if you don't mind, that would. Commissioner Buck, questions?
Just a couple of observations and statements. You mentioned our comprehensive plan. That's why we're changing it. That's why we're changing it. It was way too vague. There was confusion. It was creating issues between the citizens and the applicants, and there was a disconnect, and it wasn't fair to either one. You guys would come in and do your presentation, and you'd say, hey, this is great, it's exactly what you're looking for, and the citizens are going, what the heck is going on? So I'm encouraged that we are actively working on it now. I want to get rid of that disconnect so that you can give us exactly what the citizens want, not what the previous comprehensive plan said. So we're looking forward to getting that updated for you, and I think it'll be a win-win for the citizens and the developers and applicants in the county. Just wanted to get that out there. I'm going to actually start with a couple easy questions for you guys. Sidewalks. So you mentioned you're going to be doing them in certain developments, certain sized lots. That was actually a complaint, just for future reference. That was actually some of the complaints I saw on the internet when somebody'd say, hey, what do you know about Independence? And they would say, oh, we love it, but there's no, so they list pros and cons, and one of the cons was no sidewalks. And no sidewalks are great if the lots are bigger and the setbacks of the homes are greater. No sidewalks can work, but when you go through there, I actually drove in Independence when it was snowing out. I got a call from a citizen, said, hey, could you come out and look at this? And I drove out there, and there was a lady pushing a stroller in the street, and there's snow on the ground. It was not good. And I think it's a serious, and you, I think, had mentioned that it was safer. The study that you had, I'd love to see that study, because I don't believe it.
We did provide that information probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see you listened, and you're moving forward, so that's good.
Okay.
Bluegrass.
I'll stay up for the easy ones.
Yeah, that's another easy one. So bluegrass, what's the ratio in some of these lawns and some of the community properties of Kentucky bluegrass, high water demand plants?
Yeah, please.
Susan Wade again. Really, we have a water-wise plant palette over the entire community. It will be water conserving. There will be bluegrass in high-impact, high-use areas. So I think we're going to try to reduce bluegrass whenever possible. We want native grass. We want to fit into the natural environment. We want high-impact visual landscape, maybe not bluegrass, but flowering, ornamentals, ornamental grasses, things that are more visually attractive, and reduce the bluegrass wherever possible.
Gotcha. Any idea how many square feet?
No, but we are definitely limiting each resident to a minimum amount of high irrigated turf because, again, it plays into just being a water conservation community. So it will be limited. Our parks will not have large irrigated fields. This terrain does not really allow for large soccer fields or baseball fields. There will be small pockets of event lawns that are very highly active.
Okay, thank you. That was it for the easy ones. Now, I did have some other comments. As you know, I voted against this project on the rezone. On the initial rezone, I felt it was nowhere near compatible. Turns out 6 units per acre is still not compatible with 1 to 4 acres to the north, or 2 to 4 acres to the north. So I firmly believe at that time this project was forced into that location against our guidelines, didn't fit, didn't work, and now we're making it work because it's already been approved, the zoning was already approved, and the preliminary plat was approved, and now we're at the final plat stage saying, well, you guys have already, not me, but previous board members have already approved it. So I just wanted to make that statement and get that out there. Still zoned 3 sides ag as it sits right now. Today, as it sits, it's still 3 sides zoned ag. Still didn't mention we didn't mention the comprehensive plan as far as the 3 miles to the county towns. So I get what you're saying about, hey, no plan's going to hit every one of your comprehensive plan goals. It's probably impossible, but no one ever mentions the ones they don't. They don't say, hey, we hit these, and And we didn't hit this and this, but we came damn close. You just leave it out. It'd be nice to, say, hey, we came as close as we could. This is what we couldn't accomplish. That's all I have.
All right, I just got one quick question, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Schroeder. And that question is, you talked about these super blocks.
Yes.
You talked about possibility of schools there, and there was at one point some discussion about maybe fire station or emergency services, something out there like that. Is that still part of the plan, or is that?
Can you back up to show go one more. There you go. Yep. That one. Okay. So the reference here to these super blocks, one is future residential facility, one says future retail, and then future filing. Okay. So we'll start with the first one. In this plat, there is area that is kind of in the boundary of the infrastructure we're trying to put in to open up. The first one is where we will put our rec center. So again, if you're familiar with Independence, that area there at Homestead, that'll be the yellow area. The next one over, if that's orange, is an area that will be for future retail. It's going to be hard to get retail to come in, today without enough rooftops to get there. So
Right.
we haven't tried to plan it. That's a big super block that then we'll come back and say, we'd like to put these things here, and it'll go through a process in front of the county again. The future filing one in the kind of reddish, that is what we had held out for fire, because typically we'll offer them a piece of land to put a substation or something on. There is one right to our north in Sun Country, and so this project as a whole is actually in 2 fire districts. One's Rattlesnake and one's Kiowa. Both of them, and Kiowa has one just right on Kiowa, it's actually 53, so one over from Kiowa Bennett Road. There's a facility there. They both chose to continue to improve the existing facilities and felt like they could serve our property from there. And we are still holding that in case that changes in the future, because it's hard to go backwards. So that one is a future pad that's on hold.
Just a comment for that. I know that, especially being volunteer departments, and your ISO, your rating is a 10 probably, 9 or a 10, if there's not a fire station within close proximity. So that makes your insurance go tremendously high, your homeowner's insurance, that kind of thing. So I just want to throw that out there, so.
We actually have studied that, and we agree with you. Rattlesnake actually has a much better rating, and they have, I'll just say, people and equipment on site nearby, and it's very close. It's just straight up 29.
Okay, yeah. I'm familiar with
Very
that.
close.
Yep. Okay, that's the only question.
And so
I had.
working with Cass, and because they have an agreement between them to cover each other, then that allows that rating to apply to the whole project.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schroeder, sir?
To begin with, Commissioner Buck, given your statements that you've already voted against this project, and it could be argued that you have a preconceived negative opinion on this project, are you going to recuse yourself from a final vote?
I certainly could.
So I'm going to ask for legal's opinion on that, too.
Well, we can handle this one of 2 ways. We can adjourn to executive session and have a discussion about that, or I can give general advice on conflicts of interest or pre-decision. I'll start with general advice, and you can decide if you want to have an executive session for additional legal advice. So, having made a decision several years ago, or whatever it was, a recommendation on the Planning Commission does not necessarily mean you have made a decision today, that you have pre-decided this issue. This is a different issue, as I understand it, than was before the Planning Commission at the time that you were on it. I believe that was for the PD zoning itself, and here we are at a much later process, the final plat. So things that would cause you to recuse yourself as a commissioner are a conflict of interest, meaning you have a financial interest in the outcome of the decision. I'm not hearing anything about that. Pre-decision is a due process concern, so if you have decided this issue in advance of this hearing and you're not able to make a decision based on the record presented today, then you have pre-decided the issue and you can certainly recuse yourself because you cannot be unbiased or fair. That's not necessarily what I'm hearing, but I'll leave that up to the commissioners. And if we need to have further discussion, I suggest we have an executive session.
I suggest we have an executive session.
Commissioner Schroeder, you good with that? All right, so motion to,
It's statutory section 246402-4B for legal advice. Because it is legal advice and it will be limited to legal advice, it will not be recorded. And we will return to this meeting when it is done.
all right, thank you. All right, folks, we're returning from executive session. Let's call this meeting back in order.
Commissioners, just for the record, I just want to state that we had legal advice on the issue of whether Commissioner Buck needs to recuse himself. The executive session was limited to that. There is no recording of the session, but we're back in regular session, and you may proceed.
Thank you. Commissioner Buck, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
At this time, I would like to recuse myself from this hearing. Thank you.
All right, let the record reflect that Commissioner Buck has recused himself and is exiting the boardroom. Jim, would you mind shutting that door, please? Thank you. Okay, back to where we were at, BOCC discussions, questions, and I believe Commissioner Schroeder, it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, I don't have much to say, but just comment on what we've been discussing with the comprehensive plan. I love your explanation of the comprehensive plan and where it falls, and I think it's intentionally that way. It needs to be a little bit of a flexible document that fits the different applications, and so I think that's where we need to be, reminding us that the comprehensive plan document is guidance only. It's not the regulations. We follow the regulations. And so even if a project comes before us that we feel is not fully compliant with the comprehensive plan, if it follows the regulations, it still follows the regulations. And so I think on both accounts, this project does meet both what we are looking for with the comprehensive plan and as far as what the regulation is concerned. And if you have nothing more to say, Mr. Chair, I'm ready to make a motion.
I will entertain a motion at this time, sir.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Crescent's filing number 1, FP 2024-0291, and Crescent's filing number 2, FP 2025-0001.
There's a motion. I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now, sir, I would entertain a motion to close the land use hearing on said filings.
Mr. Chair, I move we close land use public hearing on Crescent's filing number 1, FP 2024-0291, and Crescent filing number 2, FP 2025-0001.
There's a motion. I second. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Lastly, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I move we adjourn.
I second that motion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are now officially adjourned. Thank you.